thing, isn't it? How can Paul be so confident of his own deliverance? Look at this. I will rejoice, and I know that through your prayers and the help of the Spirit of Jesus Christ, this will turn out for my deliverance. The idea of deliverance there is sort of vindication, probably. Is sort of that Paul, although things seem to have gone badly, this will lead to victory. This will lead to vindication in some fashion. It definitely will. How can Paul be so confident of that? Well, here's an interesting thing. This Greek phrase, will turn out for my deliverance, is a direct rip from the Greek version of the Old Testament, which is called the Septuagint. There is a Greek translation of the Old Testament called the Septuagint. This phrase, will turn out for my deliverance, is a direct rip from a small part of that in the book of Job, chapter 13, verse 16. Job is saying exactly the same thing. This will turn out for my salvation, for my deliverance. Paul is echoing that. Paul is taking Job's phrase. Earlier in that section in Job, he had been moaning about the fact that he's got these annoying people giving him the wrong advice and using their lips and their tongues for all sorts of bad stuff and undermining him and that kind of stuff. Paul has just been talking about the fact that other people preach Christ for the wrong reasons and cause him a whole load of aggro. And then he says, but all of this will turn out for my deliverance. Where's he getting that idea from? Well, partly, I think he's got Job in mind. Poor Job was sort of the first person to say this. Sadly, Job, when he was saying this, hadn't read the rest of Job because he hadn't lived it yet. But Paul had this great hindsight of seeing how God worked through the life of Job and brought things to good in the end and did exalt and vindicate Job in the end of the story. But not just that. He's not just learning from Job's example. He's seeing in his Saviour, Jesus Christ, who died and then was vindicated by being risen from the dead and then ascended up into heaven, seated next to God. Paul knows that this is how God works. He's seen it time after time after time. He is using a specific phrase from that Greek Old Testament in the life of Job to demonstrate, hey, I know how God works. He's always done it this way, and therefore I can be absolutely certain that this stuff is going to lead to my vindication. I'm not worried about this. I'm not scared. This is going to lead to great things, to victory. You see that Paul has such a positive attitude, not because he's just an optimistic, positive person. No, he knows how God works. Think about this amongst yourselves. Reading the Bible, discussing the Bible, thinking about these stories. How does that strengthen you? How does that help you to realize how God works and then apply that to your situations? How can you help one another to learn how God works so that you can be more and more confident in him and what he's going to do? Have a discussion.